Good morning, one and all present here. A request to students. All of you are requested to settle down. I repeat, all of you are requested to settle down. One more announcement. Students are requested to rest when the dignitaries walk in the hall. I repeat, students are asked to rest when the dignitaries walk in the hall. Thank you. All are requested to rise now as the dignitaries walk in the hall. All are requested to rise as the dignitaries walk in the hall.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nanda Kumar. I'm here to present fire evacuation plan for Sime Bangalore. Zyme has taken care of all the fire safety precautions beforehand. Feel safe at Sime campus. We have installed fire extinguisher, fire alarms, and water system to deal with any fire emergency. We have professionally trained security guards who will be acting instantaneously in case of fire. So, when you see fire or when you hear a fire alarm, all you need to do is be safe. Safe means stay calm and composed because if you get tense, you will not react positively. And alert others about the fire who are nearby you. And find the exit routes in the room wherever you are and evacuate immediately. While evacuation, remember, do not use lift. Use the staircase that were nearby you. And most importantly, assist differently able people who are near you. And proceed to the assembly point, which will be I'll be explaining in the coming up slides. And do not re-enter the building until the fire is extinguished. So let's see the fire extinguishing routes. So this is the basic structure of the building. Once you get familiar with this, it is very simple and easier for fire evacuation. So here is a rectangular shaped corridor which runs over the building. And you will find two staircases, one on the opposite side of the entrance and one on the left side of the entrance. If you understand this, let's proceed to the imagination. Now imagine you are in the ground floor. There are three exit points in the ground floor. One on the main entrance, one on the side garden, and one to the basement, which you will be directed towards a staircase. Everyone need to proceed to the nearest exit point and assemble at the assembly points. There were three assembly points in the building. One on the main entrance, on the side garden, and one on the basketball court. Now imagine you are in the first floor. There are two exit points in the first floor, one on the back staircase and on the front staircase. Wherever you are in the first floor, in case of fire, just proceed to the nearest staircase wherever you are. In case you are in the first floor auditorium, there were two exit points in the first floor auditorium, one on the front side and one on the back side. When you get out of the auditorium, you will immediately find a staircase. Just proceed to the staircase and go to the assembly points as possible as. Now imagine you are in the second floor. There were two exit points in the second floor, which on the front staircase on the back staircase. Wherever you are in the second floor, the rule follow the same. Just proceed to the nearest staircase and move to the ground floor and assemble in the assembly point. Now imagine you are in the ground floor as we are. Now imagine you are in the J. Philip Auditorium as we are now. Here, there are three exit points, one on the front side where the guests arrive, and one on the backstage entrance, and one on the back side of the auditorium. People in the back, people on the stage were expected to proceed to the backstage entrance so that they will be proceeded to the Kuncheri hall and they will find the exit routes. So at last, everyone need to be assembled on the assembly points. Your safety is our primary concern. Be safe and lead the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandu. Good morning to one and all present here. A very warm welcome to the International Conclave on Emerging Trends in AI for Industry and Education, Opportunities and Challenges. Research serves as a bridge connecting industry to innovation, education to enlightenment, paving way for progress in both arenas. This international conference revolves around this quote in getting to understand the emerging trends of AI in industry and education from the experts themselves. For the official event to begin, with a huge round of applause, we call upon the dignitaries onto the dais, welcoming Professor J. Philip, Chairman ZAM Bangalore, Professor Noel Lindsay, Pro Vice Chancellor and Dean of Adelaide Business School, Australia, Dr. Sriram K. Murthy, CEO, Quadratics and Chief AI Mentor, Flat World Group, Father Dr. Roy Abraham, Director, Zyme Bangalore, and Dr. NMK Bhatta, Professor and Dean Research, onto the stage. Thank you. Moving next, we have with us Father Dr. Roy Abraham P., Director of Zyme Bangalore. Father is a dynamic person who handholds and supports us in each and every step. In his former job as the principal of Marian College, he holds the privilege of serving as the longest tenure principal in its history, winning the Best Principal Award from Government of Kerala is an added feather to his cap. We now request you to welcome the gathering.
Most respected Chairman, Professor J. Philip, experts on the stage, Professor Noel Lindsay, Dr. Srirama K. Murthy, Professor N.M. K. Phata, other dignitaries, esteemed participants, dear faculty, and dear students. This meeting marks the beginning of the two-day international conference on emerging trends in AI for industry and academia, opportunities and challenges. This successful beginning of the two-day conference is the result of the planned hard work of natural intelligence and not artificial, of many for more than 3 months. Of course, AI is not quite a new thing. It was there in the many steps of human inventions in varying forms and degrees. However, the generative AI of 2023 really shocked the world. Even the biggest names in the technology found it mind-boggling. The AI is not just the integration of technology or replacement of technology in life. Instead, today, it is seen as a means to reach optimum solutions to many of the fundamental problems of human society and the environment, like climate change, fighting hunger and poverty, transforming education, and to tackle many other issues that are mentioned as part of the SDGs. I do not mean to say that AI is an unmixed blessing. AI might put millions of jobs at risk. Unchecked AI advancements will lead to social unrest, geopolitical instability, and economic disparity on a scale that we have never witnessed before. AI also can lead to concentration of power, increasing exponentially, especially favoring the wealthier nations of the globe. This rise of AI may pose many questions that cannot be easily answered. Like, should we pause AI experiments now? Will we control AI more than it controls us? Will AI help humanity or damage it? It may not be possible for us to answer this type of fundamental questions on the growth of AI. However, for all of us, it's quite sure that AI development will not wait for us. And not being part of the AI is not an option. Therefore, I think this international conference is one that aims at exploring answers to many of the challenging questions on AI to make it inclusive, safe, and responsible. We have in this auditorium and also on online some of the leading experts who share their insights on how AI will bring opportunities and challenges for industry and academia. I am entrusted with the task of welcoming all the participants. I'm very glad to welcome Professor J. Philip, the founder of XIME. He was the former director of IIM Bangalore and the dean of XLRI. He is the longest serving academician in the country, nearing completion of 64 years of teaching and training the young minds. He is going to deliver us the conference chair address. Sir, saluting your dedication and commitment to train the young minds, most affectionately, we welcome you, sir. I am honored to welcome Professor Noel Lindsay, the Pro Vice Chancellor and the Dean, Adelaide Business School, Australia. I'm very glad to say that we are a partner institution to the institution, and we have many representatives from the business school. Professor Lindsay holds an extraordinarily coveted position as the president of ABDC. Most heartily, we welcome you, sir. Professor Lindsay will be delivering the inaugural address for us. We are fortunate to have Dr. Sriram K. Murthy to deliver the keynote address for this conference, who is known for his visionary approach and pioneering works in AI, machine learning, and big data. He is an academician and scientist who has groundbreaking inventions and is a practitioner in AI-driven digital transformation. Let me wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Professor Kameneni, the academic director from Adelaide Business School. Our president, Mr. Anil Philip, is in the audience. Our Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, who is the former ambassador to Australia and currently the chairman of Kochi campus, is with us. Welcome you all. It's a joy to welcome our very dear Professor N.M.K. Fatta, who is a role model for the entire Zaim community for his achievement orientation and hard work. He is the one who organizes this international conference with the blessings and guidance of our chairman. Most heartily, I welcome you, sir. Let me also give a bird's eye view on the conference papers and participants. A total of 150 plus papers we received for review, of which 82 papers were selected for presentation, out of which 47 papers will be presented physically and the rest on online from different parts of the globe. We have 80 non-presenting delegates, 80 plus non-presenting delegates, of which 56 of them are from industry. And as different conference days, we have 8 foreign experts joining us and 14 Indian experts. I welcome all of them to the conference. Before I conclude, let me also extend a cordial welcome to all the delegates, participants, faculty, and students to this conference. I also welcome the participants joining us online from different continents. Ladies and gentlemen, the era of AI is in its infancy. The future of AI is yet to be written. So together, let us make it innovative, make it safe, make it responsible for all, and strive to put the human values in the first place during these years of phenomenal growth of AI. Once again, welcoming each one of you to the two-day international conference. I remain. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Next, it's an honor to call upon Chairman Professor J. Philip, who is the founder of Zyme and also the former director of IIM Bangalore. He is a distinguished alumni of Harvard Business School. He is popularly called as the Peter Drucker of India. His deep domain knowledge, visionary guidance, and of course, his exceptional leadership has made Zyme stand tall in the forefront. We are honored to have your presence today. We now request you to address the gathering, sir.
Thank you, young lady. When father was talking about AI, my mind went back to Harvard Business School class. There are 110 students sitting in. And the evaluation is mostly on classroom participation. There used to be a little assistant sitting at the back. And he used to note down who all participated and how effectively. So in the change of context today, I began to think that boy will not be there. It will be a little AI fellow sitting at the back at the end of the class coming and telling to the professor, this was the participation. Right? So and so did very well. And so and so did not participate. And so this is the kind of distribution of classroom participation marks, etc., etc. Or think of the humdrum of evaluating 180 papers at the end of the term. Now a day will come when you don't know how to do it. The little fellow sitting there, the artificial intelligence fellow will do it for you. Right? Now recently I visited a school. It's a very advanced school here in Bangalore. And I was taken around And at one place I saw there is good gathering of little fellows around something else. So I taken closer to that uh, assembly. When I looked at that, right in the heart, right in the center, is a robo, humanoid, human type. And this robo was answering questions of students who were shooting questions right, left, and center. But that fellow went on answering it. So when we thought of starting this, our school, as one diversification of XIME, we are starting a school near Kottayam in Kerala. One of the first things we are acquiring is a robo. And the robo will teach. So things have changed and changing. And when I look at artificial intelligence, it will never be a threat to human being. Nothing ever was a threat. After all these millennia, nobody has ever challenged this superhuman being, the way the God has created. So will always be supreme. But this artificial intelligence will be a slave to us. It's a question of how we use it. And that usage will expand, grow. I was thinking of teachers with the robot teaching there. Your teaching load can be brought down. Or once you have gone, the robot standing there will answer any kind of questions the students may have on your environment or your economy or international relations or whatever you have. That guy will answer it. Right? Any mathematical issues, the guy will answer it. Right? Those things are going to be very, very different. So when I look at artificial intelligence, as I see it, we are going to be doubly strengthened with this phenomenon that is coming in. So I don't see it as a threat anywhere. I see it as a great aid to the civilization movement. Civilization has been progressing all these millennia, continue to progress, continue to prosper, continue to enrich. And this is one of the pieces that will contribute substantially to the further progress of the civilization. So when you look at artificial intelligence, I'll see it as another aid in our progress. My only worry is India hasn't done much in this area. Even today, we depend on United States, and in Europe depends on United States. That is what the creativity is. So we have to ask ourselves the question, why is it that we are so behind? Right? Now, East, the entire East is also rather behind. As we move towards the West, creativity increases. And United States still is the capital. If you look at the Nobel Prize of the last 30 years and ask the question, where did all those Nobel Prizes go? 90% is in United States. Now that is an issue that when we discuss these kinds of issues to think about. Why US is so innovative, Europe is halfway, and we are quite behind. Something which we have to think about, that innovation and this artificial intelligence is something which can help you to be innovative because it will take away a lot of humdrum, a lot of routines it can take on. For example, I was thinking of a refinery. Refinery is a continuous process operation. There's somebody at one end looking at the flow of the stuff, regulating it, controlling it, correcting it, and all that. Now, hereafter, we don't need him. He will, that little fellow will take care of that, which is going to happen in many situations. Machines will be run by them. Right? Okay, reception will be run by them. A number of things that happen in the office will be run by them. You don't need them. So that is the opportunity which we have to take advantage of in innovation. So we are coming back to our original job. as managers, as creators. Now, this artificial intelligence is going to give us greater opportunity to be more creative. And also, when we approach this issue, this question for India and for other countries in the East, why is West, and particularly United States, is so creative? Why is it 80 or 90% of the Nobel Prizes should go there and not to this side? Right? Let's hope that artificial intelligence will help us one day in correcting this big disparity that we see. I compliment Bhattaji for thinking of this very, very, very interesting, very fascinating, very challenging theme, artificial intelligence in this new world. Yes, that's going to be, but I look at this again as we had several instruments, tools that we invented. This is another one of that. Our intelligence will stay supreme. That it will always stay as number one. But artificial intelligence will only be an aid. But it can be a great aid for years to come. So thank you, Bhattaji, thank you, organizers. Thank you, our students, for organizing this event, which is massively forward thinking. We look at the future of humankind and say, look, here is another one, a quantum leap, which will come through artificial intelligence. So when we look at this issue, look at it this way, another quantum leap in human history. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that insightful introduction, setting the stage for our discussions today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce our next distinguished speaker, Professor Noel Lindsay. Professor Lindsay serves as the Dean of Business at the Adelaide Business School, and he is the Pro-Vice Chancellor of Entrepreneurship at the University of Adelaide. Professor Lindsay is also a member of the executive of the Australian Business Deans Council, which is also known as ABDC, where he is currently the ABDC president. His extensive leadership experience and expertise in entrepreneurship, innovation, and community empowerment makes him a valuable addition to our conference. Please join me in welcoming Professor Noel Lindsay for his inaugural address.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome. Distinguished guests, industry and education specialists and colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to be here traveling from Australia with my colleagues, Professor Stephen Zhang, who's our Professor of Entrepreneurship, and Dr. Rajiv Kamaneni, who's our Director of Accreditation and Director of our Deloitte Leadership Academy. And you'll hear more from them later. But it is indeed a privilege to be co-hosting our conference on emerging trends in AI for education and industry opportunities and challenges here. With Zyme, we've worked hand in hand with Zyme over the past couple of years, working together to strengthen our relationship. We have a lot in common with them. Both our institutions aspire for quality, and we have great ambitions for the years ahead. Before I start, I would just like to thank the organising committee who have worked very hard in putting together this conference, and also the students who have provided incredible support. I have to say, I'm very delighted to be here to provide the inaugural address around the transformative impact of artificial intelligence on our society, where this technology is heading, and what the latest breakthroughs and applications mean for business, educational institutions, policymakers, and society as a whole. We only have to look at the significant impact AI is having on our personal lives, our careers and work environments, to see the pervasiveness of AI across a wide variety of industry sectors. As we've come to understand, AI is not simply about increased efficiency and productivity. Indeed, it offers great capability to enhance creativity, personalization, discovery, and quality of experiences across practically every facet of our work and life. And as algorithms continue to evolve with ever increasing speed and new knowledge is created, AI's value and applications will expand exponentially. As such, there's an urgency to be proactive in working creatively in this space to tackle the many challenges, but equally to identify the numerous opportunities that abound. In this regard, education has long been ripe for disruption, and how we teach and learn, how we research and create new knowledge, and the manner in how institutional operations are conducted. AI is likely to trigger more extensive actions to transform the face of higher education to better meet the changing requirements looming ahead related to our students' needs, our faculty, methods of delivery, investment in current technologies, and reduction in the way our institutions bureaucratize. And of course, there are strong parallels with industry. Of note is that global investment in AI startups have grown by over 1,200% in the past few years, with PwC estimating that AI will contribute over $15 trillion to the global economy by 2030. Without question, AI will fundamentally transform entire industries, occupations, business models, and how we educate people during the different phases of their lives. Although there are tremendous opportunities, there are serious risks and fundamental challenges, such as the potential to alter how power is distributed in society, and how the improper use of AI by students can erode academic integrity and authentic creation. In my address, I provide an overview of the key trends that are emerging and accelerating the pervasiveness of AI, and what university teachers, educators, policymakers, industry leaders must consider as we integrate these rapidly evolving technologies into our campuses and classrooms. Equally, business and not-for-profit sector and government need to understand the impact of AI when determining strategies, operational methods, and policies. For the remainder of my address, I would like to share with you 5 key trends that I see that have come together at just the right time and that are quickening the pervasiveness of AI in our lives. These are the pace of change, the reshaping of industries, preparation for the future of work, the reimagination of education, and policy and governance for the common good. I'll now tease out each of these individually. First up, I'd like to ground my discussion in the pace of change and how the sheer leap of recent advances in artificial intelligence have moved so fast ahead. The 2010s saw greater progress in AI than in the previous 50 years combined, even more so when ChatGPT was launched at the end of 2022. We are experiencing exponential gains in what machines can do to master cognitive skills like seeing, reading, listening, speaking, analyzing, predicting, planning, and even creating. These leaps forward have been driven by 3 converging factors: new techniques such as deep learning neural networks that mimic the architecture of the human brain, the exponential growth of data from sensors, devices, video, and the digitization of almost everything, which is helping train AI models, and the exponential growth in computing power, especially with the advent of massive parallel graphic processing units. These brain-inspired algorithms, abundant data, and enhanced computing power have enabled machines to achieve in a few years what was impossible just a decade earlier. To illustrate, in 2009, driverless cars could barely navigate simple roads. Today, despite consumer confidence in autonomous vehicles being very low, with only 54% of respondents in 27 market survey worldwide saying that they trusted autonomous vehicles, and only 40% saying they trusted autonomous vehicles in the US. The company Waymo, a leader in autonomous vehicles, which has a cat's cry around boring, its autonomous vehicles have driven over 20 million miles on public roads and mastered complex city driving. Another example, machine learning techniques have reduced error rates in language translation to just 3 to 5%, which is on par with average human performance. And a portrait created by AI sold at a Christie's auction house in 2018 for $432,000, over 40 times what they estimated the painting would generate. This acceleration of progress shows no sign of slowing down, which begs the question, what will it be like in 2025 or 2030 once AI has 10 times or 100 times more data and computational power? So that was the first trend I see is important, the pace of change. A second trend has to do with reshaping our industries. Beyond breathless headlines of machines surpassing narrow technical benchmarks, what are the key tendencies and applications of AI across major industry sectors that matter for organizations, policymakers, and society that demand our focus? There are a number of these. First, there is the automation of tasks and jobs. AI is getting extremely good, extremely quickly at automating structured, repetitive tasks and jobs, from manufacturing and warehouse operations to clerical work and accounting to telemarketing and more. McKinsey estimates that up to 30% of tasks in 60% of occupations can be automated with existing technology, existing AI technology. HR and recruiting have the opportunity to use AI to attract and evaluate job applicants through resume screening, with video interviews analysed by algorithms, providing recommendations for skills training and helping HR manage workflows. This will have a significant workforce impact. A second area that's developing is around AI's pattern recognition capabilities, which are enabling business to derive valuable insights from the exponential growth of data. This is improving our decision-making, our forecasting, and our risk management capabilities in any data-rich domain, such as finance, accounting, healthcare, retail, and manufacturing. Now, I have to say, while we celebrate these beneficial aspects, we cannot ignore the surge in data collection, the machine learning analysis of that data, and the concerns all this raises about the AI impact on rights to privacy. Third, AI allows for hyper-personalized experiences and recommendations by making sense of thousands of signals from an individual's behavior on context. For education, this means, or leans, I should say, toward an holistic student experience, encompassing not only around personalized education, but across student recruitment, course delivery, addressing learning gaps for students, providing study support, and the connection with student peers and care services to combat student loneliness with a view to enhancing mental health. A fourth consideration in the transformation of industries is associated with the advances in natural language processing, voice recognition, and generative AI, which are enabling far more natural interfaces for people to collaborate with machines using vision, voice, and text instead of crude keyboard commands. This holds strong promise for humanizing and improving online and hybrid learning environments, but it also provides a considerable boost to those with disabilities. A fifth consideration in the transformation of industries is aligned with the acceleration of scientific discovery and innovation. AI techniques are transforming hypothesis testing, experimental design, data analysis, and concept generation, which allows scientists and engineers to innovate faster. Now, while the amalgamation of all these tendencies in industries, across industries, is initiating the reshaping of technologies, institution, and human experiences in profound ways, it's imperative that thoughtful, comprehensive planning and sage stewardship of these tools is undertaken to ensure the perceived benefits impact all without negatively affecting diversity, equity, and inclusion. So far, I've talked about the pace of change, trends there, but also the reshaping of industries. And these trends, these changes have come together at just the right time that are quickening the pervasiveness of AI. A third trend that I see has to do with the preparation for the workforce, the future of work. A pressing priority is to proactively prepare for the impact of AI, its automation on the workforce. The World Economic Forum predicts that 97 million new roles today emerge to offset declining demand for current worker categories, such as data entry clerks, entry-level legal workers, junior-level accounting professionals, and assembly line workers. In this regard, workers need to be aware of the impending changes to their industry and take action to reskill so as to work alongside increasingly capable AI systems. Businesses will need to take a more human-centric approach and provide training in those creative, social, and analytical skill areas that are challenging to automate. And educational institutions will need to emphasize adaptability, systems thinking, lifelong learning, and the detection of cheating, impersonation, and credential fraud while promoting academic integrity. And there will be a need for governments to address support and social safety nets for displaced workers during these transitional periods. With prudent policies, AI automation can liberate people from repetitive work and allow more time for meaning, creativity, relationships, and self-actualization. However, there's also a need to consider those people who have disabilities, acquired brain injury, and intellectual disability, and those on the autism spectrum who thrive on doing repetitive work. A fourth trend that is quickening the pervasiveness of AI is around the reimagination of education. I feel that the possibilities in this area are inspiring. To realize the full potential of AI in education, we must understand the key opportunities, proactively address the challenges, and above all, stay grounded in our human values and educational mission. Education systems clearly need reimagining for the AI age. Curriculums must evolve for the AI readiness, to be AI ready, and digital literacy for all students, not just technical training for elite coders. Beyond teaching core technical competencies in AI, education providers should focus on cultivating uniquely human skills, such as entrepreneurial thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, ethics, teamwork, design thinking, social perceptiveness, and the ability to constructively critique information. These skills allow people to flourish alongside AI and use technology wisely. At the same time, there's a need to promote inclusion, equity, linguistics, and cultural diversity. In this regard, UNESCO is calling on generative AI tools to be made sensitive to the context and needs of local communities. Providing access and opportunities for underrepresented groups will fuel diversity of thought to build better, wiser AI systems. The fifth trend that I see that is quickening the pervasiveness of AI is related to policy and governance for the common good. Evolving policies and governance will be critical to encourage AI innovation while managing risks. The possibilities with AI are endless, but we must approach innovation thoughtfully, weigh trade-offs wisely, and plant the seeds today for an abundant, just, and harmonious future tomorrow. Key priorities I see include or around data privacy frameworks that protect individuals while enabling data sharing for social benefit, industry standards and incentives to ensure algorithms are transparent, fair, and accountable, modernizing education and employment policies for the age of AI, along with educational development of formal guidance regarding the use of generative AI, investing in R&D and infrastructure to democratize access to AI, and finally, having multi-stakeholder dialogues to align interests, prevent harm, and promote justice, such as this sort of event that we're having here today. Now, with regard to this last point, I'd like to say that two things. First, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Instead of passively wondering what is to come, we must proactively envision the world we wish AI technologies to enable. Amid the uncertainty, if we still instill ethical values and human dignity as guiding pillars now, we can create AI systems that empower people toward better societies. And secondly, with challenge comes opportunity. To meet the AI age, the sustainable transitioning of societal systems to an AI world is paramount. This won't be easy. Within the challenges, though, are boundless opportunities for prosperity, insight, and human achievement within responsible and inclusive innovation. We can transform these challenges through cross-collaboration and aim to embolden and coalesce listeners around proactive shared models. In this way, AI can catalyze unprecedented progress. So these 5 trends I see will have significant impact on embedding AI more and more in our society. And now, just if I can just say a few words in closing. In preparing my address and talking to colleagues, it seemed to me, when you think of it from a very simplistic perspective, AI is nothing more than a form of transforming and developing knowledge. Our humanity started doing this through cave paintings and then moved on to stone tablets, quill pens and parchments, printing presses and books, and then digitally stored information, which was able to be shared more efficiently when the internet came into play. Artificial intelligence is simply helping us to access, generate, and transfer knowledge more efficiently. Thank you for your time and attention. I look forward to listening to the engaged discussions during the various sessions over the next 2 days.
Thank you for the knowledge share, Professor Noel Lindsay. We now have with us Dr. Sriram K. Murthy, a renowned data scientist, AI expert, and a successful serial entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience. Notably, he is the first Indian to earn a PhD in machine learning. He has published scores of international publications in AI, ML, and holds 21 patent applications, of which 9 issued. Dr. Murthy is a sought-after speaker at prestigious forums like Trilateral Commission, US India Forum, and many others. Recognized as one of the India's top analytics academician, his passion for teaching and mentorship is commendable. We now request you to address the gathering, sir.
Professor Philip, Professor Lindsay, Father Roy Abraham, Professor Bhatta, and all distinguished faculty members, delegates, and students. You have really honored me by calling here to give a keynote address to set the contours of AI issues and things that we may be debating in the upcoming sessions today and tomorrow. I will take help of a presentation. I tried to keep the font large. I hope those in the back can see the slides. I have been looking at AI from different perspectives. My first brush with AI started in the 1990s when we were trying to build a post-processing system for the Hubble Space Telescope. This was at the Johns Hopkins University, which was responsible along with NASA to run the space telescope. We saw issues in big data, problems with big data, as in Hubble's telescope collected so many more images than ground-based telescopes. We saw issues in natural language processing because whenever the Hubble spotted a object, we needed to go back and see in the literature whether that object was described in any paper or not. Otherwise, it would be a new invention, and that's a big deal. Every night, millions of objects would be spotted in the images that Hubble takes. So it's practically impossible for human beings to actually go through those images and classify. My journey began there in the early 1990s. And then we saw that identifying let's say a star or a galaxy in a Milky Way is not really very different from identifying a cancerous lesion in a soft tissue, because both of them look similar in an image. So we saw the cross-applicability of algorithms, of mathematical techniques that AI produces. From there, it's been a long journey. I gave these examples to say to some of you who may be thinking that AI is a new thing. Late 1950s is when it started. We are looking at the current one as the fourth iteration of AI, but this is a very significant iteration, and I'll tell you why. There are four points at the least that I would like you to go away from this keynote address. One is that generative AI, and I'll define what that is here to stay. Second is that there are substantial opportunities and challenges, as have been outlined by the previous speakers. And I will try and give you a slightly different take on them. And many industry sectors, if not all industry sectors, will be substantially impacted both internationally as well as locally because of generative AI. And I'll talk a little bit about the academic impacts that AI would have, that I'm seeing in my personal experience. A quick foundation for those of you that may not have a concrete knowledge of what this topic is. What is the elephant in the room? Why are we saying that AI is going through a very important iteration now? The elephant in the room is that natural language is a problem that is more or less cracked now. Previously, or so, until about a few years ago, human beings were the only ones that could converse in a natural language, that could write natural language, etc. Today, you have a GPT-4, which would get in the 99 percentile on the SAT, would also clear the same machine, same engine with no changes, would also clear the USMLEs, and it would also clear the bar exams for law in multiple places. So understanding natural language, generating responses is a problem that through the machines we have solved to a large extent. Why is this significant? It's significant because 62% of all jobs globally across the sectors are language-based. A teacher's job is a language-based job. A writer's job, an advertiser's job, a receptionist's job. Examples have been given before about AI sitting and listening to how much interaction each student is doing in a 110 people classroom. This is a language job. So any place where language is of significance, that problem is now, that is now a solved thing. Machines can do it better in many contexts than human beings. The second, sort of reason why this is a very critical time is because we have figured out how to use models built for one purpose on other purposes. Previously, a software program written to, let's say, multiply a few numbers always does that. But today, you can build a GPT-4, train it on certain, types of corpora, certain types of text collections, and take it and solve a completely different problem, let's say a code generation or a theorem proving with it. So this cross usage, retraining, repurposing of models really accelerates innovation. This is the reason you're seeing the pace of change. In terms of its evolution, a generative AI. So we will be speaking mostly about generative AI because we are talking about emerging AI trends, and the most significant emerging AI trend today as we speak is generative AI. So we'll spend a lot of time on that. Generative AI as a field evolved out of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence was there in 1950s, then machine learning happened, deep learning happened in the beginning of 2010. Before that there were a few instances, but 2010 and later is deep learning, and generative AI started happening 4 or 5 years ago, but now it came into prominence at the end of November of 2022. 2023 has been called the year of generative AI. This decade has been called the era of co-pilots, so on and so forth. So evolutionarily, generative AI came from AI. But the significant thing is that we will see even the applications turning around where generative AI will be at the center. Because, in any job, you think of any tasks that you do in your day-to-day life, communication is a central part of it. Correct? Getting some information or describing something to somebody, answering a question, inquiring is central. So generative AI, which can solve that language problem, will be at the center. And underneath it will be many layers of, let us say, machine learning models, or GPUs have been talked about, sensors, data collection, and processing of that data. All that will be below. Generative AI will be what we all will be interacting with, because it's so human-like. And this is true with, the co-pilots were a Microsoft example. So I'm showing a, AWS example here, Amazon Web Services. Every vendor is traveling a similar direction where generative AI is central. And then there are multiple layers of other technologies below it. And you have a human-friendly application where humans and machines can work in synergy to solve a problem. Generative AI facilitates that. That's one of the reasons it's important. And what is generative AI? Let's do that very, very quickly in a nutshell. You first build something that is brain-like. And I say this very, very carefully because brain is a very complex organism. Brain, I don't think we understand the brain. I think what artificial neural networks we are building are, have a lot of approximations which make them non-brain-like. In fact, very great people like Chomsky have compared to building a large generative AI engines to, let's say, building a submarine. So Chomsky says that if you know how to build a submarine, it's not that you will understand how a whale swims, a whale works. So nature has a very different ways of solving problems. And so when I say artificial brain here, please take it with, a pot of salt. But we build something that is a network that is like a brain, and then we prep it with a lot of data. There are data privacy issues. There are New York Times suite, legal cases that have been filed here. But basically, you collect data from different places, and it could be local. Local is very, very important, as Professor Lindsay pointed out. You prep the network with a lot of data. Once you prep it, you release it to others. Okay? You make it available to others. They will then fine-tune it for their own purpose. There may be somebody who is very interested in getting coaching for playing hockey. There is another person who wants to know how to build a drone. Both of them can get suggestions from this single trained engine and maybe fine-tune it to suit their purpose better. So prepare at one place, retrain at others. Finally, end users, those that are actually benefiting from this, artificial brain that I'm calling, or a model as it is normally called, they will be prompting. Imagine this. There are hundreds of millions of neurons with hundreds of billions of connections in a black box. You have fed it 300 years of all published information. You've fed it all books that have been published, everything on the internet, everything in Encyclopedia Britannica, all the code that has been written in GitHub, whatever. You've fed that black box everything. Now, do you really know what this box is capable of doing? It has digested it. But can you describe the functionality of this box now? No. By design, you don't know what an engine like a GPT 4.0 or GPT 4.1, whatever, can do. You cannot know what it can do. So how do we know the functionality? By prompting it. I will ask questions in a certain way. Maybe you will ask in a much better way. You'll get a very different answer. It cannot give me my answer, but when you do trial and error and come up with the right way of asking it, it will give you the answer because it's there. It has already consumed that. So even the people who made these engines, who make these engines, do not know what these engines are capable of. They cannot draw a box around their functionality. This is one of the risks. Right? Because if a maker doesn't know what the machine would do, then it's a scary thing. So prompting is very important, and we are seeing courses in prompt engineering and people being prepared as prompt engineers. This is what GenAI does, and what can it do started with language, but now it can do with just about anything. It can do it with mathematical theorems. It can do it with music, with medical, with medical documents, with very, very specific technical words. It can do it with math, etc. All of that is consumed, and then it can generate. So why is this called generative AI? Because you're first training it, then there is a box that is, to which you can ask anything. It will generate a response. That's why GenAI. Right? And the artificial brains would look something like this. These are neurons, very simplistic neurons that are connected to each other. And like I said, many people don't believe that this is how brain works. Many people actually contest this. There are whole sets of people that say that brain is more of a receiver than a generator. They say that the intelligence is in the cellular level in biology, not necessarily at an intellectual level, right? But then there are different types of theories. I won't go into that. So that's the brief introduction to what GenAI is. So where is the industry moving? For this, I want to give you an example. This short answer is it's going towards automation and augmentation. Automation, meaning an operation that is currently being done by one or more human beings, can be done by machines. Augmentation, the same human being can do the job better using AI, right? Only two high-level uses of this. And then you, to understand a little, little clearly, let's imagine a retail store. Let's say you walk into a large retail store. There's a robo that comes to you, and the robo, wishes you and asks you what you would like to do that day. You say, I need to pick up some apples. It'll point you to where the apples are, or it'll ask you, should I go and get the apples for you? And then it would bring that back them and then give you a bill, right? Imagine this situation. This is just a thought exercise. Let's say if you walked alone, the robo will come to you immediately. If you're walking with your family, the robo will wait to give you your time and then approach you in a polite manner. Okay. When you are not there in the store, the robo will control other robos to make sure that the store is clean, that it is doing all the background work. Imagine this situation. In order for this to be a reality, what are the skill sets we need? I have made an inventory of skill sets on the right side there. You need to, of course, have some physical skills. You need to be able to navigate. You need to be able to pick up things and so on. You also need to have some cognitive skills, like you need to be able to retrieve information. You need to be able to price things. You need to be able to recognize something when you look at it, etc. But you need to, even more importantly, need to have social skills. like social and emotional sensing, social and emotional reasoning you need to have. What is a social reasoning? Ensuring that you don't go and disturb a family which is in an involved conversation at the store. So the question then is, if we want to go towards automation, see, I've given you an example from retail. You can imagine the same thing in a classroom. You can imagine in a factory. Imagine automation at the highest level in a setting that you are familiar with, and list down the skills that or a AI engine needs to have to perform those tasks. That's what I did for retail here. The natural next question is, when will we be able to do all this in AI? Because if you can do it, then you can automate complex things. So the issue, what happened in 2023 is we suddenly realized, because of Gen AI in the larger conscience, people realize that many of these things are much closer to realization than you think. Many of the tasks, I hope you have seen the tasks I've listed, many of these things are closer to implementation. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Some of these things have already been said by others, so I won't go into that. But look at the last bullet. Half of all work activities will be automated, and will be automated at a expert human level. About 10 years before when we thought they would be automated. With Gen AI's rollout, this is what people suddenly realized, that half of these, we will have automation 10 years sooner than we thought. Let me be more specific. Here, I'm showing certain skill sets. This is a McKinsey study. I'm sorry for the small font, inaccessible to people at the back. But if you take social, the vertical lines are years. I go from 2010 to 2018. The blue dots show where, when a particular task will be automated. The darker blue dots show when a particular task will be automated at an expert human level, in the top quartile of human level. So you see that there are no dark blue dots beyond 2040 line. So every single task that is written here, sensory perception, social and emotional output, natural language understanding, logical reasoning and problem solving, creativity, as in generating new documents, doing screenplays, poems, paintings, and so on. All of that, none of them is going to go beyond 2040 for automation at an expert human level. Hence, every single industry will be transformed. This is the crux of what is going to happen to the industry. Base skills that human beings today utilize are, I'm talking about individual tasks. I'm not talking about management, which I'll come to, because that's the focus area here, because you can manage machines. It's not that this is a very depressing slide. To me, this is an encouraging slide. And I was very, very happy to listen to Professor Phillips say that he doesn't feel threatened by AI. I see AI as cattle. Cattle, we had horses, elephants, different types of cattle doing our bidding. It is possible. These are digital cattle. You learn to work with them. Of course, we need to learn, and human beings are very good at that adaptation and that learning. So I totally agree with Professor Phillips' sentiment that he expressed. What caused the inflection point in 2023? A variety of factors, computational power, GPUs. We got to GPUs through one path, and we now have, good, powerful compute and storage facilities. We have natural language processing that has been happening for a while, from 1960s when speech recognition happened. We have machine learning has been happening from 1970s onwards, many algorithms. It has now come to fruition. So different things came together and an inflection point came in 2023. It's a very important thing that many speakers before me mentioned about the risks and about the protection, about the guidelines, the guardrails that we need to have in place. I want to say a few words on that. These are, you can see Sam Altman, who is an OpenAI, says AI will probably most likely lead to the end of the world. But in the meantime, there'll be great companies. I mean, this is tongue in cheek, but these kinds of sentiments have been expressed in fair seriousness. In fact, it is the same Sam Altman who said in May 2023 that this technology and industry could cause significant harm to the world unless it is properly regulated. If it goes wrong, it can go quite wrong. We want to be vocal about it, so on and so forth. There is an initiative, I think, Father Roy Abraham mentioned this, pausing giant AI experiments. Thousands of researchers in AI are asking for large experiments to be blocked. Many companies have voluntarily taken undertakings that even if we do it in our lab, we won't bring it and release it outside because we still do not know as a society how to sort of, handle this beast, how to tame this beast. There are many regulations that have come about. I'm listing some of them. US, European Union recently, in Great Britain, strong conferences, world leaders coming together with technologists and with users to formulate guidelines and guardrails for development. In India, we work very, very actively with the governmental institutions, etc. There's a lot of work happening to write these guidelines. One thing I want to mention about India, because that topic came up, I think that on AI innovation, definitely we need to do a lot more. But one thing I am happy seeing is data innovation, bringing together data of different platforms, because for these AI engines, data is the fodder. Right? Only if data is there, you will be able to do something. So whether it is a exercise like Aadhaar or UPI, or whether it is platforms we are building for the judiciary, for the police force, for ONDC, for the retail, different platforms are being built, public-private partnerships, which are going to facilitate a fantastic availability of data for experimentation. And I think that will help us gain some innovation. Now, if we can combine that with entrepreneurial or innovative spirit from youngsters like you, that's the marriage we want. So data preparations are being made. There are also, you probably saw initiatives like this global partnership in AI that was being chaired by India. There are initiatives being taken, but what we need is that combined with innovation and, with entrepreneurship in the AI space. Very quick comment on how the job market is likely to change. The millions of job losses have been mentioned by Father Abraham. And this is sort of putting numbers to that. We are going to be losing this is United States, 2.4 million jobs lost because of Gen AI by 2030, whereas 11 million jobs being impacted by Gen AI. Maybe that is the augmentation part of it. Maybe there'll be downsizing from certain roles to equip people in the other roles. We are seeing that actively. So there will be job losses. I think we should not make any mistake and wondering whether the job losses will go away. So retraining will be needed. Lifelong learning has been mentioned. I think that's a very, very critical thing. This is another chart. I have shared these charts, by the way, with the organizers. So, internally, you can have access to them at Zyme. Individual jobs, how much will they be impacted by Gen AI is what we are seeing. So the topmost there, this is a McKinsey chart, educator and workforce training is the topmost affected area. Before generative AI was invented, people thought that 15% of an educator's job could be automated. With Gen AI, we now think that 54% can be automated. So there is a jump of 39% for educators in terms of Gen AI automation. This can be a good thing because it can free up the time of an educator. Like Professor Philip mentioned, the AI little guy will do some things that you don't need to do. And likewise, if you come to the bottom of it, it's basically jobs that require a lot of hands-on work. So builders, agriculture, mechanical installation, and these probably will be impacted by robotics. This particular chart is showing only generative AI impact. On academia, I would like to, give a few thoughts. There are many expert academicians here. Although I've spent a lot of time teaching at universities, I don't consider myself an expert academician. I'm more of an industry guy. So I will provide what I think should be done, and you can add to that in your discussions. In the short term, we should all think about how to support our learners, teachers, and administrators better by using AI tools. You are right that misuse of AI tools can compromise on academic integrity. Somebody mentioned, but that is one way of looking at it. There are many fantastic things that generative AI can do. We are currently running a program in the University of Alabama, management school, where a chat GPT or an LLM is integrated into their LMS. And if there are 1,000 students, there is personalized delivery, hyper personalized delivery happening to each student of the same content using the LLM. So there are many great things you can do, and we need to figure out ways of doing that and rolling it out. Teacher training is another major area where this technology can have a lot of impact. If I'm a teacher, before going into a class, I can tell GPT, model 2 students from me, one from a very smart kid from a rural college, and one is a very savvy kid, maybe not as much percentage, but very, very outspoken and from an urban upbringing. Give me both of these as sample students, and I'll deliver my lecture. Let them ask questions so I can prepare what kind of questions to expect in a classroom. So teacher training, teacher self preparation is something that this technology can be very, very useful for. In the medium term, 1 to 5 years, I think we need to grapple with questions like these. What is the best way to blend human and machine intelligence in the society? At a workplace, as a manager, from 2016, we have called our HR department in my company as Robo Sapiens, because we wanted robots and Homo sapiens working together. So we called it Robo Sapiens. So as a manager, we need to figure out what are the jobs for which I will deploy machines, what are the jobs I must have deploy human beings, and how do I do this combination? If you say that a lot of jobs will completely get automated, you're absolutely right. I don't think we'll need a lot of people to run taxi services 10 years down the line, right? Yeah, I can have a fleet of 5,000 taxis and run it with 15 people or 10 people, right? Then there are other questions that come. This taxi company is making so much of profit. What should its social responsibility be, corporate social responsibility be? How do we pass on the earnings to benefit the society? Because the purpose of existence of a business is not just generating profit, but also benefiting the society. So there need to be guidelines that are done at governmental or policy body levels, right? So the second one there, what's the best way to blend these two intelligences? And how can we empower human leaders to live in harmony with powerful machines and leverage them? The last thing is long-term, what do we need to do? Which jobs will remain manual? We need to have clarity on that. Which jobs must remain manual? I don't think that a child, when it's being started, let's say at a kindergarten level, I think it's all inspiration, empathy, connection with the teacher that gives them what they need. Even at a classroom level, all of us, the best experiences we have had are with the best human teachers, because we got inspired by them. They didn't just pour knowledge into our heads. They inspired us, they ignited us. So that will be done by human beings. Whereas practice of lessons, preparing for an examination, even setting the examination, evaluating, is something machines can do okay, right? So these, I feel, are the focus areas for academia. I will stop with this. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Sri Rama Kemurthy, for your valuable insights. Now, as we move forward, it's time for a special moment, the release of the conference proceedings. I request the dignitaries on stage to help us with the same. Ladies and gentlemen, as we unveil the conference proceedings, let's mark the beginning of a journey filled with knowledge and insights in the realm of AI. Can we have a huge round of applause as we release the conference proceedings? And now we have a small token of appreciation to express our gratitude to our esteemed dignitaries. I would like to invite Professor J. Philip, Chairman of Exime Bangalore, to present the mementos. I request Professor Philip to present the memento to Dr. Sri Rama K. Murthy, CEO of Quadritics and Chief AI Mentor at Flat World Group. I request Professor Philip to present the memento to Professor Noel Lindsay, Pro Vice Chancellor and Dean of Adelaide Business School, Australia. As we approach the close of this session, I request Dr. NMK Bhatta, Dean of Research at Exime Bangalore, to propose the vote of thanks for today's session.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. I would like to start my vote of thanks with my chairman. Many of you are giving me the credit of this particular theme or subject that does not really belong to me. One fine day when we were sitting in his office, he suddenly says, "Bhatta, why don't we conduct a conference on artificial intelligence?" The idea was his, the thought process was his. And one thing, whatever way you people might describe Professor Philip, the only way I describe Professor Philip, he is a man with creative restlessness. Again, I'm borrowing this word from him only. He has coined this word in 1964. If I'm not wrong, I'm not sure, maybe 65. But that creative restlessness is always the one which motivates every one of us. Thank you, sir, for conceiving this conference and guiding us throughout this conference. Then my thanks go to Professor C.P. Rabindranath, Chairman Kochi. He has guided us in every step during the conference. Who can be the best people to be called? Who are the experts? How to go about? How to make things happen? He has practically held my little finger to walk to make this happen. Thank you, sir. Then comes our president, Professor Anil Philip. Not only he guided us everything, he voluntarily, proposed that there will be a panel discussion, which he will run it. Thank you so much for the interest and for the motivation you've given it to all of us, Professor Anil Philip. Thank you so much. All the distinguished speakers, most of you have traveled far and distant various continents to come here and to spend 2 days of your valuable time with us. Thank you, every one of us. The knowledge that you're going to share with us is really going to remain with us for a long time to come. And all those Indian experts who are there, now I can see my old friend, Professor Ritiraj Kumar, Director of Center for Artificial Intelligence of Government of India here. Thank you, every one of you, for having spared your time to come here. Then comes all the delegates, presenters of research papers on this one. The research papers, as you might have seen, the list of the papers have really gone wide and long depth of artificial intelligence. Thank you so much for spending your time in giving the research papers and presenting them today. Thank you, every one of you. My co-organizers, Professor Madhu, Professor Joshin, Professor Suresh, and Valinagam, and Abraham, and Kevin, and every one of you, I'm really thankful to you. Without you, this would not have been possible. Then comes my faculty colleagues, particularly Professor Roshni. Your people are really looking forward to the wonderful cultural evening that you have designed for us. Thank you so much for your support. Every faculty member, the way you have supported us, really, really thankful to you. Professor Philip, while giving his conference chair address, he was telling human beings will still remain supreme. That was a really reassuring word from you, Chairman, because everyone is scared. What will AI do to us? But when Professor Lindsay started, he says, best way to predict the future is build it yourself. You decide, you build it, and then you will have the control over it. But while in his inaugural address, he emphasized, while AI will free up some of your time, but that time can be better utilized for relationship building, which we are today very, very badly losing our relationships. This will perhaps give us a little more time, little more bandwidth to rebuild and energize our relationships. Thank you, Professor Lindsay. It was a wonderful, wonderful inaugural address. Thank you so much. When Father has started his welcome address, he says AI is no longer an option. It has already arrived. And all that, like earlier days, we used to say in Bombay, if you stand outside the Churchgate station, you don't have to walk. You'll be driven by the crowd. It's exactly the same. You no longer have an option to walk. You will be driven by AI. And the way he described AI in our future, thank you, Father. It was really, really excellent address. I have to spend 2 minutes with Dr. Sri Ramamurthy's address. He has gone into the depth of every small aspect of AI. In fact, from Hubble telescope to cancer detection, the way he brought you the relationships, how AI is going to decide the healthcare, how AI is going to decide industry, how is AI going to decide the future of education. Excellent. And actually, when he was talking about LLMs, language models, today morning international news I saw, Pentagon, as we speak now, is conducting 2-day AI session as how future warfare will be decided by AI using LLMs. And it is really, you brought out several of them. And one thing which he has actually scared us, and we should be really worried about, even the people who made these engines do not know what these engines are capable of. We heard of Polanyi syndrome and reverse Polanyi syndrome, and now he's scaring us that the people have created, are creating engines which they really do not know these engines can do, and they may do something more harmful, more helpful. How they will be used, they themselves do not know. This is really scary. But the cognitive skills, social skills, and emotional skills, which are now required to handle AI, is something for every one of us to take note of and look forward to how we can build these skills. And Gen AI, he says 50% of the jobs will be automated by 2045. And he is also scared that in the education sector, 54% of the jobs will be automated soon. I do not know how many of us will have our jobs a few days from today. Thank you, but alerting us so that we can start applying elsewhere. Uh, but at the same time, he says, imagine AI as cattle. The cattle are as faithful as you train them. And if you imagine AI as cattle, it is really going to have control stick is still in our hand. This goes back to my chairman's words. We will still remain supreme and we will decide. Though he talks about risks and guardrails, regulation is very, very important. Almost every country, including UK, US, every country has already started at the prime ministerial level discussions on regulations that need to control AI as we go forward. And he is very clear about it. Retraining is critical as we go forward. Hyper personalized delivery is another important point that he has brought. And Dr. Sriram Murthy, the way you brought in every point, a few of them scaring, a few of them reassuring. Thank you so much. They were really, really helpful to us. At the end of it, so many of you, my student partners, the way you people helped us in holding this conference. Thank you so much. All the dignitaries, all the distinguished speakers who have come here, thank you so much. And we're really grateful to you for making this conference a success. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatta, for those heartfelt words of appreciation. With that, the inaugural session comes to a close. Thank you all for being a part of this momentous occasion. Let's continue our discussions and collaborations throughout the day. We will have a refreshing tea break until 11:45 a.m. I request the dignitaries on stage to join us for the same. Students, please be back in the J. Philip Auditorium by 11:45 a.m. for the next session. Thank you so much for being a great audience. Thank you.
We are 10 minutes behind the schedule. So please be back at 11:55. It took us 7 minutes to have tea and come back is practically impossible. It's tea served just outside this door. Thank you so much.
At a rapid pace, businesses are constantly seeking new ways to leverage its power for growth and innovation. From automating processes to enhancing customer experiences, the potential seems boundless.
However, along with these opportunities come challenges such as data privacy, algorithmic bias, and ethical considerations. As we explore the emerging trends in AI for industry, we will uncover these insights in how organizations can navigate this transformative landscape effectively, maximizing the benefits while mitigating the risk. Join us as we uncover the emerging trends in AI for industry, opportunities, and challenges.
It gives me immense pleasure to introduce to you our session chair, Dr. Rajiv Kamineni, a dynamic figure seamlessly merging academia, entrepreneurship, and literary expertise. As the academic director at the Academy of Deloitte, he spearheads AI-driven academic excellence at the University of Adelaide. Additionally, as associate head of accreditation at Adelaide Business School, his dedication to upholding the highest standards shines through. With a rich background in creative arts, management, and innovative management courses, Dr. Kamineni's influence spans from pioneering movie entrepreneurship to launching MBA programs. His visionary leadership extends to founding AI-centric bookstores, showcasing his commitment to advancing AI knowledge and innovation. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kamineni. Welcome, sir.
Next up, we have Dr. Ritu Rajkumar, an outstanding scientist at the Defense Research and Development Organization of Government of India and Director of Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, joining us today. With a stellar academic background and nearly 3 decades of dedicated service, Dr. Rituraj's contribution to AI and robotics are unparalleled. His innovative research and leadership at the Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics have propelled advancement in defense technology, cybersecurity, and military communications. Beyond his professional achievements, Dr. Kumar's passion for sports and adventure underscores his dynamic personality and unwavering commitment to excellence. Please join me in the warm welcome of Dr. Ritu Rajkumar.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet Professor Ambika Zutshi, a leading expert in environmental sciences, corporate social responsibility, and stakeholder relationships. With over 100 publications and a PhD in environmental management, her research has global impact, notably influencing G20 policy on COVID-19's effect on SMEs. Serving as an editor for prestigious journals and contributing to organizations like the Academy of Management, Professor Zutshi's work is shaping the future of business ethics and sustainability worldwide. Let's applaud her remarkable contributions to academia and policymaking. Please welcome Professor Zutshi.
Following Professor Ambika, we have another industry stalwart, Mr. L. Subramaniam, a visionary business and technology leader with over 3 decades of experience in driving digital innovation, currently serving as the head for digital services at Siemens Project Ventures. Mr. Subramaniam's expertise in AI-powered products and digital transformation has reshaped industries worldwide. His strategic acumen and leadership have been instrumental in establishing digital innovation and delivering transformative solutions in healthcare and beyond. Welcome, sir. Once again, I extend my warmest welcome to our esteemed speakers.
This session will be followed by a Q&A round for about 10 minutes. Hence, all are requested to be attentive and be prepared with questions. Now, without further ado, I welcome the chair, Dr. Kamineni, to set the context for the session. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thanks for introducing us very well, all 3 of us, all 4 of us. It's a great opportunity to chair this session. I was not supposed to chair this session. I became the chair of the session only 48 hours ago because the chair was traveling. So I thought, okay, now I feel like a little bit of an imposter over here because I have 3 geniuses sitting with me. One worked for ISRO and working for Siemens. One is DRDO, basketball player, marathon runner, IIT Delhi. And we have Professor Zutshi, whose policy and research has influenced G20. I am just a humble filmmaker. So I don't have the creativeness of all these 3 people, but I can predict one thing, that AI will not replace my job. I'm sure of that. I'll tell you, start off with an example or a story. Have you heard about the strike which was in Hollywood? Hollywood writers and actors and technicians have gone on strike. Why did they go on strike? Can anyone tell me? Yes? Deep fake. Okay. And AI, someone said AI? Yes. The writers apparently are worried that their jobs will be taken away by AI. They won't have any more careers to write stories, scripts, and screenplays because AI will replace them. They bought it onto themselves, Hollywood. If you go and look at the model of Hollywood and look at the Marvelization of movie making, I call it Marvelization because Marvel is dominating the movies. A Marvel movie can be made by artificial intelligence. Okay, I'll flip the question. How many of you watch Kannada movies? Few of you. Yes, we are in Karnataka, so I have to ask the question. Have you watched a movie called Kantara? Yes. Can you tell me if Kantara can be written by artificial intelligence? Absolutely. You have given my answer. So that's why my job is safe. So there are certain aspects of movie making, which is my industry, which can be replaced by artificial intelligence. That is, if you have a template like Marvel superheroes. But if you want to be creative and do a different story like Kantara, artificial intelligence can't do it. So that's my pitch. I'll start with that. The format for the session is each speaker will have about 15 minutes. They're free to take less or more. And after that, we'll sum it up and open for the audience for questions. I hope it's okay with you. So I am partial to Australia because I live there. So I'll start with my colleague from Australia. Okay. And from Queensland, which is my Professor Noel Lindsay's home state. So again, 2 strikes for Queensland. So Ambika, we should start first. Floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. From all the way from Australia, of course, Brisbane. I come from Brisbane, so I'm coming from 30 degrees to then I landed in Delhi, and now I'm here. And tomorrow morning I go to Jammu. So a bit of a transformation, which I don't think AI can replace as well. Yes. So thank you for having me in very kind words, and thank you everyone for the hospitality. And I don't agree with you. I don't think Hollywood writers have learned from Bollywood writers, otherwise they won't be scared about getting replaced. You can't have all the dance sequences, even today, replaced by AI. So I think there is something unique in the Hollywood, I think the South one, I'm not sure what's Tollywood, the Indian movie industry as such. Sandalwood. We're in Sandalwood, okay. So we have been, we have been very blessed this morning to hear as part of the sessions from the eminent speakers from the industry and from the academia as well. So I'm not going to repeat a lot of that. Yes, AI is going to replace a lot of the jobs or parts of a jobs. But what I want to spend 5-7 minutes talking about is looking at some of the flip sides and some of the challenges and the risks that they have highlighted. But what is next? And what should we do as an individual, all sitting here, different parts of a career, different stages of a career, different backgrounds. I come from management, so I have no technical expertise. Don't ask me to explain anything. We have 2 very technical experts here for that. So I want to bring that human aspect that cannot be replaced by any technology, whether it is artificial intelligence or any of the incarnations, as I called, of artificial intelligence. Yes, there are ethical issues, the privacy issues that have been touched upon. We were given examples that, AI is not something new. It's been there since 1950s and 60s. Even within the HR, human resources, recruitment, where AI has been very active globally, and many people as potential employees, as applicants, we have not realized that companies are using technology to screen our applications, to screen our CVs. They're looking for certain keywords. And I'm sure many of you would be aware in the room that in 2014, Amazon had actually launched for its own company an AI software-based software, which was to screen the applicants to be able to shortlist them. But within about 3 years, that was scrapped by Amazon itself because it realized that it was biasing towards certain gender orientation. As we know, any technology, especially AI, big data, all of machine learning, it relies on data. It will give you the output based on what's in the input. So the thousands and thousands of applications that had been fed by Amazon in the software, they were mostly dominated by male applicants. So the software thought, oh, males are better than females, so they should be the one given the priority for the job interviews, for the salary negotiations. Oh, come on, let's not go there now. What's wrong with that? And now we have to be open to different gender orientation, different sexual orientations. So I think AI, it is what you tailor it, what it can be used, but you as an individual and companies equally have to be aware of it as well. And talking about the gender, and as those of you who have links in the UK, I'm sure you have read, I think about 6 months ago, if I don't have my time wrong, basically there's quite a few parents now, young parents, who have decided not to allocate a gender to the child when they're born. So they're basically saying there'll be no gender written male or female or any sexuality. The child will decide what is their preference. So, as an employer, as someone dealing with technology, as someone dealing with human, you need to be aware of those things. What you may or may not like it, your personal preferences is secondary. But in a professional setting, in the setting of the softwares, when you're screening applicants, how do you screen those applicants? Because they would have the capability, may not have the preferred gender, for example. So, as I said, I don't want to talk about some of the challenges, but, what can we do as individuals and companies? As companies, and again, there are a lot of industry experts, and I would love to hear your perspectives as well. The question is, why, from my perspective, why do you want to adopt AI? Yes, AI has been part of almost all industry sectors at different levels, but why do we want it? What is it giving you? Are you implementing or adopting AI in your company just because everyone else is doing it, because your peers and competitors are doing it? If that is the reason, you will fail. Because you have to look, at the strategic advantage and ask the question, what problem, as we were told, ask the questions and train the system. The wording of the question is very important. What problem as a company, as a department, are you trying to solve by technology, whether it's AI or any other technology? So whatever data you're feeding. And whatever the problem that you're trying to solve, is it worth solving? Do you want to spend that time and energy? What value is it going to give it to you? Can that be done by something else, someone else? And again, thinking about technology, a lot of companies are now dealing with, do we buy certain softwares or do we build it? Again, that's the value proposition, very strategic, efficiency and effectiveness, which we talk about in management. So where is that? How we can do things better. So those who are especially qualitative researchers in the room, you will remember the 5 Ws and the H. Implement the same principles when you're looking and working with technology as well. What is it that we're trying to solve for who? What is the value orientation? So keeping that in mind, and again, moving towards the future, what can we do as individuals at different stages of a career and those starting the career as well? And what can the companies do? That integration, that balancing act that we all have to do. So from the human, from the individual perspective, I think one of the first thing you have to look at, as I said, what skills I need. Technical skills to a large extent can be taught. A lot of companies like Amazon, Google, Verizon, and even a lot of Indian companies, they no longer look at just your piece of paper as a degree. Because if they see the enough capacity, they know you can be taught the technical skill. It's the human soft skill the stakeholder relationship, the communication aspect that cannot be taught. So there are a lot of companies who, when you go through multiple rounds of interview, they're not just looking at the technical aspect, they're actually looking, how do you deal with other people in the room? Do you open the door? You know, are you courteous? How do you actually treat, even if you cross a janitor, how did you, treat them? How do you treat waiters or anyone else junior? So they're looking at all those interactions as well. They're looking at your social media. You know, there's Snapchat, Instagram. I know Facebook is nearly obsolete, more or less, LinkedIn. That's not just for networking and posting photos, but companies are looking, what are you posting about? Who are your friends? What do they do? And that has been happening for a number of years, even before AI was talked about. Even in the university sector, and I've had this experience in Australia, I'm sure other people here can attest, you know, before someone was appointed in certain roles, their social media account was checked. The person was not informed, just to see what kind of posts they are doing, you know, to avoid any scandal. So those are the things as an individual, yes, you can learn about the technical aspect, but what are you communicating? Who are you communicating with? And so that's very, very important. That's something as one of the skills we need to develop. So even if as a technical expert, you know, you are the topper, you have the best coding background, can you translate what you have done for a non-technical person? Because you will need to be able to sell what you have developed. You talked about the problem you're trying to solve. Can you solve that problem and communicate how it's going to work? So think about an airport. Most of us have flown from some part of the world, nationally or internationally. If you are asked to look at the movement of the people, you know, build a program so that there are less delays, flight delays. So you're writing a software for that. If you're only looking at, you know, the flight arrival and departure times, that's only one aspect. What about the movement of people? What about which stores are there located? How many people stop at that stores? How does that, impact? What is the aesthetics? What is the safety? AI cannot solve any of those problems. It's you as the program, you're writing, you're using your technical skills, mathematical skills, Java, Python, all those programs. You have to then look at the aspect, as I said, the airport movement, but also communicate that to the non-technical person. So having communication skill, having the big picture is equally important. So I was reading, and I've gone completely blank with one of the CEOs interview, and they talked about systems thinking. So those of you who have, again, the sciences background, especially the biology, zoology, it talks about the ecosystem, the systems, everyone is connected to one another. And they talk about that the future AI experts need to have that systems thinking to look at different interconnections and the impact. Again, thinking of the benefits of AI and the technology, I'm using AI as a generic word. And, this may sound a little bit, cheesy, but we all have read, at example, we all are aware of Ramayana and Mahabharata as, the top two Indian, not just cultures, but in learnings, we learn a lot from them, different part of the life, and other religions as well. So think about, and this I'm now going to the film industry or the movie industry. They make serials, the TV serials or movies based on these scriptures. And in those scriptures, you see there's a flying chariot. There are, there's fighting going on between the good and the evil. There's arrows with all these colors. Yes, that is, to appeal us as audience. But to me, a lot of what they are showing was written in the scriptures, which was written, 10,000, 5,000 years ago in the languages that we can't understand anymore. The technology is actually helping us to now translate. And again, I've gone blank with someone can help me with the name of the founder of Ola in India. He is the one who has actually took up the challenge which was given last year in 2023 to India by a US person that you cannot start an AI, India cannot lead AI, chat GPT equivalent. And he has actually launched a program which is translating languages, multiple languages, because India, like some of the European countries, has that challenge of multiple official languages, 16, 19,000 dialects, and the different contexts as well. So he is using the software now. He's taken up the challenge to translate all of that. So technology can have a lot of benefits as well. And the last thing I'll finish on is we talked a lot about generative AI today, but as a company, as individuals thinking 5 years ahead, think of more forecasting and predictive type, technologies as well. To me, I think generative AI is getting there, but it's already halfway through the journey. I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambika. That was very interesting. You looked at it from a non-technical perspective, which is very relevant because we are in a business school setting. So we should give multi-dimensional approach to artificial intelligence. Thanks for that. We will come back to you again with questions. Next, the speaker on the panel is Dr. Rituraj. When I read his brief bio, I thought, how can one man do so many things? And he's a marathoner. He runs marathons and he's a basketball player. And in his spare time, he's also director at DRDO. So, and also very, very important Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics. And all of us in this room know the significant pioneering work which DRDO does. And I didn't know that they have a center dedicated for artificial intelligence until a few days ago. So I'm very impressed with the fact that Dr. Rituraj is going to share his experiences with us.
Thank you, Professor. And thanks to Professor Bhatta. Can't say no to him. So when he invited me to speak to a set of people who are from management background, I was rather worried, what should I communicate with respect to AI? Because that's as we know, there's a notion of deep tech, and AI and cognitive sciences are one of the areas of deep tech. So what comes in deep tech, how is it relevant for a management school? But the reality is that a lot of you would potentially be part of deep tech moving out from here. So in that sense, it is relevant. And the second is that AI and cognitive sciences are already and increasingly would impact our personal lives. And therefore, to have an understanding of what it is and how it is pervading our life is important. So there are things that I would say which is not to scare anything or to be a pessimist, but I think the human civilization by and large is going to embark on a co-evolution journey with technology. And that's a very significant aspect of how evolutionary dynamics happen. Most species have evolved in response to natural phenomena. Traditionally, if you look at the history of our planet, evolution has been governed by ecology, by the biosphere. We are reaching a point where technology has the potential to become instrumental in evolution. And AI and cognitive sciences are going to be leading that show. So that's the first and the foremost aspect of understanding that when we look at the social context of AI, it's a co-evolution problem. Any co-evolution by definition technically is called a second order dynamics. So a second order dynamics by its very definition is not something that you decide that I'm going to script the future. Linear systems can be scripted for the future. Non-linear systems cannot be scripted for the future. They're just too complicated to predict. And therefore, the co-evolution of humans with technology, in my judgment, is a classic example of a second order dynamic. We have embarked on a journey, and therefore, this generation, the following generation, and the generations to follow will have to continuously take a call on the direction that this co-evolution takes. It's not a journey that will get scripted today by anyone, by any expert. The second aspect about this co-evolution is that a lot of people talk about building controls. Now, let us be very clear that you can have cooperative elements, good elements, deciding to exercise control. You cannot enforce that the rogue elements in society will also exercise control on themselves. And that has historically been the case. And when it comes to technology, therefore, and if a technology has the potential of giving you a winning advantage, if you used it wrongly, then there would be elements who would use technology outside the regimes of control. And therefore, control by and large is nothing more than a denial of service on yourself. It doesn't change the course of history. And in that sense, as we move into this co-evolution, it would be important to understand that while we make controls so that the good guys decide cooperatively what should be done and what should not be done, but by the same token, to have capabilities in place that can counter the rogue element who try to use the same technology would be equally important. You can't have a benign world and hope that this co-evolution would evolve in a benign world. Now, with that as the context, within about 10 minutes, I decided to jot down 5 points which are on the boundary of AI and security. Because AI in many ways is being spoken and generally referred to in the context of what it can do, what it cannot do. Let's hope that humans would be better than AI. Let's hope that humans will be in control. How does jobs get protected? That's the normal conversation around AI. But how does AI impact security is the crux of what I want to talk about. And because there are so many dimensions of AI. So within the 10 minutes that I have, I would touch upon 5 aspects of AI and security. The first aspect, and I have just nomenclatured, is that how do you trust AI? Now, let us understand that any learning system learns from what it observes. It's based on data. It's like a newborn child. The child is born with practically no knowledge. And then there is a period up to the age of maybe 20 and beyond, where they are learning based on what they see, what they experience. And therefore, you have films. We have a film producer, which are rated based on age, based on the content that they have. Why is that required? Because you want to control what you expose to a learning system. So essentially, from a security perspective, data is always assumed to be in adversarial control. And data is something that is deciding how your system functions. So in principle, an uncontrolled situation in machine learning would be one where the adversary decides what the machine would learn. Now, imagine a situation in a world where AI is going to come in. Either it comes in because of policy, it will come in because of business opportunity, it will come in because the rogue element has it, and therefore I need to have it. How do you guarantee that you have not played into the hands of the adversary? Because the data that is used for learning is a data that could be colored by the enemy. The enemy need not be across the border. The enemies could be within the society. Enemies could be people who do not believe in a particular social structure. Enemies could be just about anyone. So therefore, how does this data impact learning? And therefore, what is it that we can do from a technological, social perspective in order to create the pre-filters to determine what does AI learn and what it should not learn. This is the first security problem that we have. This is the real security problem. The second is the security problem that AI has given the tools for humans in which we can no longer have a belief system on authenticity. The fact that all of you believe that I'm a real person, Ambika and professors are real people, is because your senses tell you that we are real. This could be a screen with deep fakes running, correct? You don't know, you haven't touched us. So authenticity in human life is based, we have cognitively evolved to trust what we see, what we hear. And if that appears logical, we believe what is in front of us is authentic. Deep fakes are becoming troubling as an example because they question human judgment with respect to authenticity. Now, as technology improves, the deep fakes would improve. As deep fakes improve, how can we have anything as authentic transaction? And therefore, the future with respect to businesses, which is based on the notion of authenticity and trust, how do you reestablish that in the domain of AI? And that would be a challenge. I have just used the example of deep fakes. The concept of deep fakes is getting permeated very deeply with respect to contracting. You cannot trust it. You cannot trust your email. You cannot trust your social media. You cannot trust anything. Now, how do you establish, therefore, a business transaction? This would be the second thing in the future. How do you establish authenticity? The third thing is that AI is very often used, as Ambika mentioned, to create what are called classifiers. So Amazon created it, as she mentioned, to decide which CV to take in, which CV not to take in. That's a classifier. Now, when it comes to AI and especially deep learning, there are techniques by which a small amount of noise can be added by an adversary, which can completely throw the classifier apart. And you have no way to decide that. So I don't have a presentation right now, but say, for example, you have trained AI to classify, say, an animal and a car. So as the pictures come in, it will tell you whether it's an animal and a car. And at the end of it, it can give you a count how many pictures of animals versus how many pictures of cars. Now, there are intelligent ways by which you can add noise to the picture of cars so that they get classified as animals. To a human, that image will still look like the picture of a car, but to an AI classifier, he may misclassify it. So this is called adversarial noise injection. And this is a well-known attack on AI. Now, if this attack exists, this was the essence of the Amazon attack. And a lot of people must have heard how to earn money out of YouTube and Google ads, right? What is it that those guys are teaching you? Those guys are teaching you that you have a page ranking algorithm running in Google. How do you bring in content and keywords and metadata that would give you a higher ranking in the page ranking system of Google, which is continuously evolving to beat this, but how can you beat that still? That's the essence of Google Ads revenue. So therefore, this is a continuous problem. How do you break the challenge of coming to the classifiers? The fourth problem from a security perspective in AI is that the output of AI, how do you believe it? You can't ask an intelligent system, how did you come to this answer? So the AI that as a concept, say for example, as a human, we say we have a gut feeling which we cannot explain. Correct? Which means that if it is something that it is not a formal learning, but it is experiential learning, which means it has been learned over a lifetime of experience, you cannot say why your grandfather was suggesting that you should not do this or do that. He has no answer to that. It's experiential learning. Machine learning is another example of experiential learning. You can't go ahead and ask a machine learning system, why did you come up with that answer? Now, as a human, therefore, how do you trust that judgment? And that judgment is being used all around you. Whether you get a bank loan or not is decided by a machine learning algorithm. Your CIBIL score is a machine learning algorithm which decides what should be the credit limit of your credit card. These things are already there all around us. So I was denied a home loan because the CIBIL score was manipulated by some entity. I had to fight a battle with CIBIL for close to 1 year to get my CIBIL score sorted out. They were masquerading. So therefore, these things are all around us. So how do you trust a machine learning system when some critical decisions are being taken by machine learning? And the final point that I would like to do is that machine learning is being used increasingly to create individual, organizational, and demographic understandings based on population scale data. As humans, an average human has always believed that being anonymous, being part of the crowd, is a survival strategy. Historically, humans have evolved that way. In every society, it doesn't matter whether you're part of a developed world or a not so developed world. Anonymity, being part of the herd, and many ways to describe it, has been one of the survival strategies. Now, with population scale data at a global level being available, and with the capability of machine learning to discern demographic, organizational, human traits and behaviors, and get into specific targeting, which is right now masqueraded in the context of marketing, but would go beyond that definitely, is a huge risk to the human population. And therefore, as we venture into this journey of coevolution, I feel that it is important to understand that this is going to be part of our future. This is not going to go away. How should we evolve our intellect to safeguard certain interests of individuals, of families, and societies? I think would be the crux of being able to manage the transformation that AI brings to each one of our lives, and to say management students who are going to step into deep tech technologies in the future. I think this is the crux. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rituraj. It's very interesting to listen to you because when the first time we put a movie trailer on YouTube, the target I gave my marketing team was to get 1 million views. As you're saying, we can manipulate the views, or there is a system to today 1 million views. I think lots of 16, 18-year-old kids get 1 million views on YouTube. I mean, 25, 30 million, 100 million is the target now. And also you mentioned about the CIBIL score. In all our lives, when we want a home loan, we get rejected. When we don't want any loan, people chase us for loans. So I think the CIBIL score is it's someone deciding a score not based on your ability or your real income potential, but by a system which is set up to mostly fail people rather than succeed. Thank you. So we'll come back to questions for Dr. Rituraj. Please note down some points. We have an expert panel. From DRDO, we're going to an expertise in ISRO. From ISRO, now Mr. Subramaniam is now the Senior Vice President R&D at Siemens, but before that, he had a very long stint at ISRO. So I think students should consider yourself lucky that you have experts from DRDO and ISRO, two of the jewels of India in terms of research and technology, and all of us agree on that. So I think that deserves a round of applause. And the floor is yours, Mr. Subramaniam.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, it's first of all, thank you, Dr. Bhatta, and then for inviting me here. And then I would like to share some few thoughts on. I'll be a little bit more optimistic. I'll be restricting myself to the healthcare world because that's where I come from. So, and when I see the topic, it's basically what challenges we have and what opportunities. And then for me, technology is a requirement, whatever it brings along with it. So it comes with a lot of baggage, but is it required? I would like to share some thoughts, and then we can decide jointly whether it is required or not, and how it is going to shape our future. So I'm put it in a simple words, how do we shape the future of the healthcare? And I come from a company. The purpose is to provide healthcare for everyone and everywhere. That's the purpose. And if you want to meet that purpose, today's technologies are not enough. As simple as that. So we need something more. Is artificial intelligence is going to be the answer for that? We do not know, but it is a hope. And I would like to be on that optimistic note. So I will list down some of the challenges what I encounter and then we all encounter. So let me put basically what is the real challenge of worldwide health. India also falls into that. Fundamentally, whatever part of the world we live in, it's affordability. If a person falls sick, sometimes the family becomes bankrupt. That's where you are, basically. Whether you live in the United States or you live in Australia, you live in India, it's a problem. It's not affordable. Am I audible? It's not affordable. And so we needed to reduce the cost. Expensive. And then so we need to reduce the cost. How do we do it? And then we will explore some of those opportunities. So all those management graduates who are going to come out of this institute will have a lot of opportunities to see how we can become an entrepreneurs. If you can reduce the cost of the healthcare, you will become the next Mark Zuckerberg. There is no denial about it. Too much opportunities available. The next biggest challenge is the accessibility. Even though it is affordable, sometimes it is not accessible. So in our world, we put it in a simple way, where you are living should not determine how long you live. If I'm living in a place where it is not accessible, I should not be dying. How do I bring in this? So this is where the challenge for us, basically, how do we really bring in to everyone and everywhere? I think now I connected the purpose to the real human beings, because we're all, and then I also give you some quotes of that particular thing. And then let's say it is affordable, somewhere it is accessible, then the equality of the healthcare. Should a rich person get better healthcare than a poor person? So the quality of the healthcare. So the digitalization or artificial intelligence does not differentiate a poor man versus a rich man, or a poor lady with a rich lady. It only looks at the data as it is. So we need to say that the cost, the accessibility, and the third dimension is the quality. It has to be same. To bring in the quality, the expert will use the artificial intelligence in a different way, whereas the novice person, the young doctor, if he takes this expertise, then he can as good as an expert. So this is how we see it. So this is where the benefits of solving this iron triangle. Why you call it as an iron triangle? If you pull one, if it is somehow accessible, it is not affordable. And if it is affordable and accessible, somehow the quality gets impacted. So if you want to move any of these parameters, other two are really, really getting affected. in order to solve this, we are chasing these technologies. We are really looking for these technologies. And we strongly believe that this mining of the huge data from all of us worldwide, remove these biases. There will be biases, because if it is a white man, the treatment will be different to a black man. I mean, that's the bias, because that's how we train our models, because the data which we get, the output, it becomes like that. So having said that, if we can remove these biases and then ensure that we have an equality, and then the digitalization also gives you us that particular equality amongst the races and people. And I will just give you an example. Basically, each one of us is unique. I mean, we have 8 billion people. Some of these challenges, why I'm saying all these things is basically that we are 8 billion people worldwide. And to reach out to these 8 billion, imagine persons basically sitting in remote places of the Bihar, and then a person sitting in Bangalore. There is a lot of quality difference that comes in the healthcare world. So we needed to reach out all this to 8 billion people, and where the ratio of the doctors with the population that is continuously diminishing, whereas the expansion of the population is continuously going up. So we needed to solve this particular problem. And then the second biggest challenge in this whole process is that we consider everybody as equal when it comes to the treatment, even though individually we react to different medicines in different way. So if you go to any doctor, and then sometimes he will say that, I mean, I get a fever, he will just give you a paracetamol. Take it. I have no idea whether that is a real treatment for the particular person, basically. Does it require a paracetamol or something else? How do you know? He just gives it to you, and then we believe in that. And then, but when it comes to our reaction to that particular medicine, it could be different. So how do we make personalized medicine? If I'm an individual, I require a personal medicine rather than a generic medicine. So this is where the understanding of our own selves, basically through the artificial intelligence, and then tells you that you as an individual needs this medicine. And that too, if I just put my symptoms there, and let's say I go to ATM machine and I put my symptoms there, can I get a medicine out of that? You get a cash now to ATMs. Why don't I get a medicine from there? I put all type of that. Just to give you an examples of how can you make personalized medicine. But that also comes with the regulatory challenges. There has to be a regulatory framework to this whole process, basically. That means what? We need to have confidence in that particular stuff. How do we bring in that confidence? So we are talking about precision medicine along with artificial intelligence. So if we can train our models, the huge data, and then this is where I'm very excited when generative AI is coming, saying that with the billions of data, if it is trained, parameters are taken, and then all these large language models can give us this process, and then going towards the AGIs. And if we can get this kind of a precise medicine. And today, even to diagnose a person, the radiologists are very, very occupied. And I tell you that I'm personally dealing with a problem in the United Kingdom, wherein the radiologist is reading a data which is 3 months back. That means what? The scan has happened 3 months back. We don't know whether the person is going to be alive next, but there is no choice for them. And then so they are waiting for this particular person to read the data and then tell to the surgeon that this is the problem. So we are waiting, and then if some AI can tell that this person is normal and this person is abnormal, and only the radiologist gets the abnormal as a priority, then what happens is basically that at least you save some lives. This is as simple as that. How do we use these new technologies to classify different categories of the person? Because most of them could be just going for predictive or what we call it as basically the health checkups. Thousands and thousands of people go to the health checkups, and then 90% of them normal, 10% are abnormal, but the radiologist has no clue which is normal and which is abnormal. He just takes the patient data in a line. So if you are an entrepreneur, budding an entrepreneur, if you can solve this particular problem, saying that this is the normal patient, you will become a billionaire. Just looking at this chest X-ray, if you say that I do not have the COVID, you will become a billionaire. That's the opportunity today. Because we do not know how many lungs got affected during the COVID time. We all believe that the COVID has come and gone, but we really do not know what is the impact on the worldwide population. So these are some of the opportunities, and then we are looking at the millions of patients not being treated. And I strongly believe that this artificial intelligence is one of the ways to solve this kind of a problem. Giving the access to the world. And then I come to the elective surgeries and the patient surgery using the artificial intelligence, using the what we call it as the precision therapy. I talk about the precision medicine to diagnose for a particular person, coming with the real cause, quality not being sacrificed, rich man, poor man not being differentiated, and the artificial intelligence does not know which is who is rich and which is poor. And then how do we come to robotic assisted surgeries? So robotic assisted surgery requires definitely this artificial intelligence. So this is where we are seeing opportunities where the robots can be trained so that the doctor's requirement comes down, keeps coming down, because the population is increasing. Proportionately, the number of doctors are not coming. And this is where we need these technologies. We need these kind of different methods to ensure the iron triangle problem is solved: affordability, accessibility, and quality. In that, the data plays a vital role so that the biases are removed. And I will close this whole thing where we are working is called a digital twin. A twin is that you carry that along with you since birth. And if it can be trained to grow along with you over a period of time till you reach the grave. So that means what basically the twin grows, and then you will be understanding basically the entire your own human anatomy along with that, and then you don't need to carry anything. Your twin will get all kinds of simulations on you. Before a medicine can be given to that particular person, you experiment on the twin whether that really solves, rather than giving the treatment and finding out the answer that it did not solve. So, and twin for not only for the person, can we do a twin for the clinical workflow itself? That means when the patient comes in, the patient goes out. Today, no hospital can tell you how much it really costs you. So if I can experiment and then say that this is exactly the amount of the stay this person will be having it, so that we all get benefited in that particular process to know exactly when the person can discharged. A twin for processes, a twin for all of us, and a twin for understanding that how to even put a person in a scanner machine. Basically, imagine that a child as well as a fat guy comes in, and then for setting up the particular machine itself takes a lot of time. And if it automatically adjusts using artificial intelligence, looking at the person body, that it is a baby or it is a fat guy coming there, the machine output suddenly increases. That's how the hospital can reduce its cost. It can take more patients input. So there are many, many opportunities, and then young entrepreneurs, I think the world is unlimited for all of us. So open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sobrino. That's very interesting. You mentioned about the iron triangle. I have both my parents are medical doctors, and when I was a teenager, I went to Chennai to pick up the first color endoscopy unit for my dad's practice. And that time, unfortunately, Siemens quoted high, Toshiba quoted low, so we went with Toshiba. So sorry, but I went to collect the machine, and in a smaller town, now it's a smaller city, the way it transformed the medical care facilities is amazing. I saw it firsthand. I was probably about 15 or 16 years when I went and collected that machine and came. And that's the accessibility part. Today, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, he works on telemedicine. So in Australia, there are several remote indigenous communities who do not have access to primary health care. So he provides telemedicine to them, and he provides consultation to them through telehealth.
Yeah,
And
that's where I said, where you live should not determine how you live.
Absolutely. So that point resonates very well with me. So what healthcare you access should not be judged or determined by the fact of where you live. So thanks for that. So all the three experts on the panel have spoken, and if now I don't know whether there's a mic. Yeah, there's a mic going around. So if you have any questions, can you please start? There's a first question from Mr. Dr. Sriramurthy over there. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. This is more a comment than a question. While we study AI solutions for different problems, one pattern that I see emerging is in different parts of the world. The answers to the questions of the future may lie in the past. So I'll want to give a concrete example of that. One of the entities that we are currently building is at the intersection of AI with Ayurveda. So as we studied, I went and studied from Ayurveda acharyas on what are their models of physiology, what are their models of the mind, how are diseases of the body connected with the diseases of the mind. There's a whole body of knowledge. Similarly, in acupuncture, it's not specific to one geography. But as we see more into it, I see some parts of the iron triangle being addressed there. So, one of the things is that there is, let's say, for many things, not for serious diseases, but for many things related to wellness, if not sickness, there are remedies which are accessible. Wherever you're living, there's local food, local herbs, local, supplies. Affordability has been anyway a way that the system was designed from the beginning on I'm not talking about how well practitioners are bringing in the affordability, but the ingredients that go into care, etc., the costing, etc., is a very different thing. Quality, of course, needs to be looked at. Iron triangle, like you said, if you address two of them, one of them gets stretched. But in short, our sort of insight has been that it is, many of these systems, traditional systems, are rule based, and one needs to invest into collecting data for them. But if you do a good job there of data collection and rules, AI can, combined with the traditional knowledge systems, provide answers that we don't have today. I just wanted to say that in the context of the healthcare.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, my question is to both Rituraj and Subramaniam. To Rituraj is with this AI, how is the future warfare is going to look? What is going to happen? Are the soldiers going to be replaced? Are the tanks going to be replaced? What exactly, maybe 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, how will be the wars fought? Are we going to reimagine entire battlefield situation? That is for Rituraj. And from Subramaniam, this healthcare being augmented or being supported by AI, what happens to accountability? If somebody maneuvers the system and the diagnosis is wrong or the treatment is wrong, who becomes accountable? And if tomorrow many of the medical care specialists are being replaced by AI, if at all, and what will become accountability? What will become the legal system? Who will be taken to the court of law? And how exactly the whole system works? What exactly is going to be the future of healthcare with AI taking the principal role in that, in whatever order you want to answer? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bhatta. We'll ask Dr. Rituraj to answer first and then Mr. Subramaniam.
We all have had a brush with computers in our personal lives, right? Sometimes the computer is not working, the net is not working. So I think the information technology revolution that was, in a sense, originated by Bill Gates, I think he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. So, so the more information technology and the more intelligence that gets added onto it, so we'll be continuously updating our software, our hardware, waiting for services to happen. That's one way to look at it. But on a more serious note, as I was mentioning about the co-evolutions, so one part is how does the human society and the human individual become smarter because of this co-evolution with technology? And the other aspect is how does man-machine teaming start? So whether it comes into the civilian space or the militarized space, the intelligence would not just be limited to developing systems that can support humans, but developing systems that can supplement humans in specific roles, developing systems that can cooperate with humans in regions where humans are also operating. And I think to a certain extent, what was mentioned about healthcare is a classic example of, say, for example, supplementing a healthcare provider with an intelligent system. The point that was mentioned regarding Ayurveda is another classic example. So say, for example, just taking the point of Ayurveda itself, Ayurveda has a notion of Nadi Vidya, wherein a really good trained practitioner of Ayurveda can touch your vein for 10 seconds and give you a life story from a medical perspective. It's actually intriguing that healthcare industry, including Siemens, hasn't invested in machine learning based on Nadi Vidya. In 10 seconds, you can actually get that done. Or at least answer the question that it can't have been done. If Ayurveda claims Nadi Vidya is there, then let's have machine learning. You could have a wristband, a smartwatch like this one, connected to an AI system that's giving you everything. And then, of course, once you have that, as you rightly said, an expert system-based solution, which at least, if not sickness, wellness part of it, based on commonly available herbs and spices based on the region of interest, can potentially be prescribed. It certainly cannot create harm. So I agree fully that these things would happen, and therefore there is a tremendous opportunity, whether it is in civilian space or military space, to get into human-machine teaming. And human machine teaming is going to be a potential future. We've all seen the interesting videos of Boston Dynamics, where we've seen interesting robotic platforms dancing and jumping all around. Now, apart from the fun and tomfoolery, it's actually showing a glimpse of the future. So, in my judgment, that's the future. And of course, this is not an occasion to talk about warfare. We're peace-loving people. So I would more focus on that the technologies, once you get into that teaming, that would be the crux of how things would happen. Because machines can be made to get into envelopes that are beyond the capability to be handled by humans. Say, for example, you are you're a former Air Force officer. So the envelope of a fighter aircraft can be way beyond what humans can tolerate. So now if you need to have a squadron, a fighter squadron of the future could involve traditional fighter aircraft with human pilots teamed with fighter aircraft which are pilotless, as an example of man-machine teaming. So man-machine, human-machine teaming would be an important aspect in every aspect of life in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rituraj. I think just to repeat the question for Mr. Subramaniam, it's about accountability.
First of all, thank you for that question. Who is accountable in the entire healthcare system? There are multiple stakeholders. Ultimately, at the end of the day, patient needs to have trust. Whom you trust more. So today, what happens is basically is that you trust the doctor because he has a certificate behind it. Nothing more, nothing less. Am I right or wrong? He is certified by the university like Zyme. So do I get a certificate for the artificial intelligence? That is called FDA in USA. If they certify that this particular product can be used for the clinical purposes, or similarly in our Indian world, there is a regulatory body. They give you a certificate that this can be used for clinical purposes. So we need to trust somebody. And then based on the clinical trials and then clinical outputs, the acceptance by the patients, then the accountability gets built in. First the technology, then only the regulator will understand, because these are all continuously evolving things. Regulator does not know, has no clue that this is the technology and this is how we have to certify that. They are also learning, and we as ecosystem, the universities, the industries, and the society has to evolve in giving these kind of processes. So today, the way it is seen is that the doctor still is responsible. He can take the help of any kind of technology that comes in, but still the patient only trusts that particular person. And obviously, he will use all the regulatory certified products along with them, and which has a clinical outcomes. And whether we can get these things as much automated as possible, whether he can remove them, the human behind it is a long way to go, but also depends on how much these technologies really gain acceptance over a period of time. 10 years down the line, perhaps you do not require another certificate body like a human to tell you that this is the medicine. Maybe this itself is self-certified to do that. So that is where I give it. It is the human still, the doctor, for a current standpoint of the technology. And let's see how we bring in this more and more accountability to the kind of, to the technology-driven products, which will help. And then definitely one more item before I close this answer. If there is no doctor available, but I need a medicine, at least if there is a certified product there, which really gives me that saying that you take this medicine, or this is your really diagnosis and then you have to rush to another fellow. At least to that extent, if it can save that life of the person, I think I'm more than happy that this technology at least helped in protecting that particular person. I hope I answered to a large extent.
Thank you, Mr. Subramanian. Yes, you answered it very well and you explained it from a different perspective. Yes, thank you. Next question, anyone? Yes, please.
So my question to Rituraj sir. Sir, you're talking about cognitive capabilities and machine learning. What is your take on singularity in that case?
The notion of singularity, the way it is defined, assumes that singularity, if it happens, will be observable and measurable. So right now, I think the more philosophical debate is, if singularity as a concept, can it ever be observed? Because singularity assumes that human intelligence is going to be static and machine intelligence is going to grow up, and therefore there is a point of intersection. But if technology and human intellect are in a co-evolution, then it's not very clear how are you going to really observe it. So therefore, this is an aspect that is sufficiently reported in academic literature, not in the mainstream sciences, but more in the context of social sciences. And you can refer to that. So singularity's observability is still is an undecided problem. May have already occurred in the past, you don't know.
Thank you. We have time for a couple more questions. Yes.
My question is to Dr. Rituraj Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Sir, and I observe that most of the debate is centered around how to take care of these challenges rather than opportunities. So you are working for the government, and this how this AI can be leveraged for the benefit of the largest social good. For example, the financial markets. I think this AI technology can eliminate the fraud and other manipulations. I hope so. And second thing, Government of India is implementing lot of cash transfer schemes, farmers direct cash transfer to the farmers, and other financial aspects. How this technology can complement in bringing out transparency and accountability as a supplementary to other system by which the Government of India is monitoring the government schemes. Can you throw light on something, sir?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct, and to the extent I know, that's the intent of the government. And therefore, the large-scale population data that has been created over a period of time is being used to identify trends, is being used to identify anomalies. These things are happening across the board and will happen more and more. For the purpose of an open discussion, I'll give you an example of something that we did in the healthcare space during the time of COVID. So AI was very majorly deployed by the government during COVID. May not be that well known to the people. And my lab was amongst the forerunners. So there are a lot of things available even in public domain what we did. I'll just give a simple example because that's something I can share publicly. There are a lot of things that I can't. So all of us know that detection of COVID in those early days was a genuine problem. So the rapid antigen tests were not very reliable. And the other one, whatever it was called, I now even forget. RT-PCR. That would take minimum 48 hours. And because of the population size and the number of infections, it would typically end up taking more than 48 hours. And that was mandatory to do anything. So even your treatment protocols cannot begin without the RT-PCR result out. So you were put on to basically supporting care, but not the primary care till the RT-PCR result was out. I mean, if we can remember what happened 3 years ago. So at that time, my lab, say for example, created a system wherein you could use a chest X-ray, a standard chest X-ray, which could be done in any part of the country, even a digital X-ray, and use AI to triage whether the person has COVID or not. That's it. A chest X-ray takes about 5 minutes, and our system took another about 2 minutes. And with more than 99% accuracy, the triage was happening. The 99% accuracy was higher than the accuracy of RT-PCR tests, which was at 92%. It's another thing that its adoption was limited to major cities in the country, which is unfortunate. So I think the ability for AI to be transformative in India in the social space would depend upon education of people at large and not so much about the inability of solutions existing. The acceptability of technology is still an urban phenomenon in India. So in that sense, I think we are a little off, but by and large, AI adoption for social good is a national policy of the government, and across sectors, across departments, that's happening. Cash payments you had to wonder. Not really. That's a touchy issue.
Yes, okay, thank you. Noel, you had a question, yes.
Thank you. Professor Mbika Zuchi, you bring a different perspective, a non-technical perspective to the discussion. I was interested in one of the comments that you made. You said generative, if I've got this right, AI is important, but you see the future with AI being strongly grounded in forecasting and prediction there. And you've got a human side of things, a sustainability sort of background. And I was wondering, could you tease out your response, to what you said there?
Sure, thank you very much. So yes, from my perspective, and not going towards the technical side, but having the conversation with my technical colleagues, I think the AI and other technologies, machine learning, deep learning, which is relying on data. And I think Dr. Murthy also talked about, connecting the past and the present, and I've done a bit of work on that. I think there is a lot of potential of big, wicked problems, as they are called, housing, sustainability, climate change, water pollution, etc., where technologies can actually help us because it can help to forecast. So I have been, and I'm sure there are other people here working on disaster management, and Australia has, recently gone through bushfires, cyclones, everything else you can think of. And during COVID, we saw the supply chain breakdown, basically. So technology became very, very important for the communication to predict as well, what materials are needed, when their material, when the material is required as well. And talking about health, and I'm switching gears in part of answer to different context, we talked about the health context a lot. And talking about, Mr. Subramaniam's comment about, making sure the healthcare reaches to everyone who's around, irrespective of where they are. And the hospital, we don't know in the hospitals who's going to come, how long they're going to stay as well. Yes, the hospital's data can be inputted to predict and forecast, if they're coming with these symptoms, what is the likelihood of their stay as well. And linking that technical aspect with the other aspect of, the supply chain, because I work a bit in supply chain. We did some work in supply chain mapping of the strata in Australia, stratification, because there are a lot of apartments now that are being building as well. So mapping end to end, what does it look like? Who are the key stakeholders? Where are the risks and potential benefits and opportunities? But then streamlining that with technologies such as, to some extent, blockchain as one example, where you're trying to build some level of trust. I know that still issues of privacy and other things there as well. So I think we can complement technology with the human aspect, because without the human aspect, you cannot predict. And I'm going to use, because this was something one of my medical practitioners said to me recently. I was not feeling 100%. I went and had a chat. I looked at the symptoms and they said, did you look at Google Doctor before you came here? So, we can look online, we can have telehealth, but there's also then, the real medical practitioners. There's a caution point as well, how much we, rely, and whether it is that certification aspect, that there's some level of trust and that we can bypass So I'm not sure if that answered your question in different. Thank you.
Chick. So I have a question. So much of discussion that is happening about the opportunities and challenges connected to the AI. So my question is, in the future or sooner or later, some of the jobs will be automated, and what qualities or characteristics of humans helps them to stay relevant and rule or survive in the future?
Rule. Oh, that's a good word. Yes. Okay. I'll take the question and then I'll pass it on to my colleagues. I think if you are creative, innovative, thinking out of the box, no artificial intelligence can replace you. We are training students today to be prepared for jobs which we don't even know exist tomorrow. So 3 years, 4 years down the lane, if you say there are some jobs which students want to, we don't even know what those jobs are. So we're training them. So to answer your question specifically, be creative, be inquisitive, and be innovative. And if those are the traits, if we can train students to be, then they're job ready always. Others want to add?
It's an interesting, debatable question. Whether anybody replaces anybody. Nobody replaces anybody. So fundamentally, that is what it is. You are unique, and then you cannot be replaced. Let's put it in that way. Now, to answer specifics, I am not sure why this question keeps coming. You look at many technologies that have swept in the last decades. Talk about cloud computing. It did not replace anybody. It created thousands and millions of jobs. Internet came in. Previous generations do not know what is internet. It created millions of jobs. Mobile computing came in. Zomato, Swiggy have taken over the world and given a lot of jobs. And every technology has created millions and millions of jobs which were not previously available. Of course, yes. Does it require an individual to know these technologies to have these kind of jobs? Answer is no. You need to know how to use them. So if you can use these technologies to get a benefit off of them, and I'm sure millions and millions of jobs will be created using artificial intelligence. The problems which we could not solve today, I explained few of them, and then there are plenty of problems. These problems are the ones which are going to be addressed, and then there are many challenges will come because of that technology. And then I'm sure, be rest assured that I can tell you that one more thing is that a person will be replaced with a person knowing artificial intelligence. So that's where it is basically. So I hope millions of jobs will be created in the next decades.
So I have one question, sir. May I, sir?
Sorry. Oh, no. I was just going to add to that. Again, coming from the management perspective, the people management skills and the leadership, technology will never replace it. You still, whatever number of people are there in the organization, whether it's 5 or 5,000 or 500,000, you as the expert, even if you are the AI expert, Subramaniam sir, Rituraj sir, they still have their teams. They still have to lead their teams. And that can only happen with non-technical skills. And as another example, just to close, I had the privilege as part of a project to interview the Microsoft CIO in Australia. And we actually asked him that question because he deals with multiple stakeholders. And he said, my technical expertise is only 10%. I just know enough to communicate. I don't go into the details of the program itself. My team does that. His job is to deal with people side of it. I'll finish there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we don't have time for questions because Professor Bhatta has prepared the schedule so well. I don't want to upset his schedule. If you want to discuss with the panel members offline, probably you can come and have a chat with us. Thank you.
This was an extremely wonderful and engaging session, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of points to take home. Thank you, speakers, for giving us insights on the various challenges as well as opportunities when it comes to AI for different industries, be it movies, healthcare, management, or even military. Thank you for making it an interactive session, and thank you to the audience for actively participating. I would now request Father Dr. Roy Abraham, Director of Zyme Bangalore, to present the token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers.
I would like to request the guests to be escorted to the Eastern Lawn for lunch. The juries and the student, please note that the next session will be research paper presentation and will commence at 2 p.m.
The venues for the session will be track A1, Saroj Gandhi Hall, first floor, track A2, S3, second floor, track A3, Kuncheria Hall, second floor, track A4, Devi Ravindranathan Hall, second floor, track A5, S8, second floor.